everybody. Welcome to day 3 of our art history lessons. I hope you've been enjoying these as much as I have. I think that they're super fun. They can be as bite-sized or as intricate as you'd like them, and you can make them for any age level or grade level you'd like. So today we are actually focusing on Andy Warhol. Now, the thing about Andy Warhol's information, or the biography that I was able to get, it wasn't from the same site that I was able to get the other ones, and it's a little bit more broken up. So I wanted to show you a picture of our final product, strawberries in pop art form. So pop art's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. That is what he did. I actually had my 4-year-old son, my almost 4-year-old son, make this. Not this one, but he made one of his own, and he really tried following the color scheme as closely as possible to my example and to the example on the computer, and he actually did pretty well. So don't underestimate your kiddos. Sometimes they'll surprise you and see what they can do. So this one, you're going to need this printout, some markers, the biographical information, and then this is how I wanted to show you some vocabulary front loading for the day. So this one, I actually do it on paper. So depending on how many words you have, I would fold the paper that many times. If you have, say, more than 8-ish vocabulary words in a segment that you're covering, it might be a little overwhelming for your kiddos to keep up with all that verbiage. So maybe do it in chunks, because sometimes there are things that just have a lot of verbiage like that, especially like science type of content. But take it in smaller chunks so that they're not overwhelmed with all the words. So this one, just for the sake of showing you, I folded it into 4 parts. I folded the paper into 4 parts, and you almost make it like comic book style, and you draw a picture for each of the words that you're trying to study, because you really would need to know what the word means in order to draw a picture to depict it. You can add the definition to it also. I chose not to, but you absolutely can. So our 4 terms are pop art. So pop art is just art based on popular culture, and it's based on mass media. And so it's funny because when I Google imaged it, there were a lot of like thought bubbles and those like cartoon looking like people speaking into the talk bubbles. So I just did the talk bubble. Another one is inspired. I tried to do Andy Warhol hair here. Told you don't need to be an artist to be able to do these lessons. And it was in between my meetings today. And he's inspired, he's thinking. Here is technique. Technique is just using different mediums to get to what you need and how you're doing something. And then he was also known for art installations, and it's a 3-dimensional site-specific art. So if you can imagine, like in a museum, what an art installation might look like, they are usually like hanging from the ceilings or coming up from the floor, and it's 3-dimensional. Okay, so it's interesting because the one from Andy Warhol is multiple pages, but it's because it just has so many images in it. There's a picture of him. He was an interesting looking dude. Here he is. So I'm going to skim through this with you again, just like we've done the other days. Look. There is a part of this that I did highlight as something that some parents might be uncomfortable with, or educators might be uncomfortable with teaching. That is part of the description in here. I personally don't mind it at all. But if I were to share this with you, I did highlight it in that pink just so you're aware that it's there, though I want to be clear that I personally do not have any qualms about bringing it up, even with my 2- and 4-year-old. Okay? All right, so Andy Warhol was part of the pop art movement, and he was born in Pennsylvania, and his first job was illustrating advertisements in like fashion magazines. You actually can see his work at the LACMA. I know I've seen some of his work in real life. Van Gogh's too, actually. I've seen there. They have some of their stuff um, in LA. And so it was a really cool experience to see it in real life. And then, so there's a lot of images here. So that it's just citing the images. That's what a lot of this text is. He was famous for exploring popular culture in his work. A lot of people know him for his Campbell soup can art, and popular culture is anything from Coca-Cola to pop stars to the clothes people wear. And he made a print of Campbell's soup. And the interesting fact that I learned from this was that apparently he ate Campbell's tomato soup every day for lunch for 20 years. That's incredible. Wow. You have to have quite the commitment to tomato soup. Like, I love tomato soup, but 20 years every day, probably wouldn't like it as much. So pop art is inspired from things in popular culture. He had a very personal style and particular style with his clothing. It says he dressed up sometimes. He wore a lot of black and leather jackets and glasses or sunglasses. That's so funny seeing as to how I'm wearing my glasses today. Maybe I was channeling my inner Andy Warhol. Let's see, and then it shows pictures of him right here. And more pictures. He liked to use bright colors and silk screening techniques. Techniques was one of the words that I included in the vocabulary. He liked using screen printing to mass produce his artworks based on photographs of celebrities. Like this image of Marilyn Monroe. She was a movie star in the 1950s. And he didn't just do the prints, he did films and digital artwork and installations in art places like we were talking about, in like museums or art shows and galleries. And that's about all the information that I found on him that was kid-friendly. So the thing that I want to point out here with the art that you have here, it's kind of one of the more simple pieces. And I've actually seen this done a few different ways. You don't have to do strawberries. You can find any image of whatever and then alternate it. But when I saw the one of strawberries, I thought that that's probably the easiest. So the key here is there are 4 components in this, and this is about the strawberries in particular, in each picture. So there's the background, the stem, the strawberry, and then the seeds. So that's 4 things, which means that you will need 4 different colors. And you can't repeat a color in any of the boxes. So you'll notice that the background colors are different from each, the strawberry color is different from each, the seed color is different from each, and the stem color is different from each. So when you color it, try to keep those things in mind, and then that's how you kind of get this effect, is to not repeat it, but keep it to just those 4. And I mean, that's about it. And that would be our next insert in our art book that we're going to make. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's a relatively simple one. It's a fun one because it can be with pop culture. You can try the Campbell soup can one, but or whatever image you want, but I would recommend that you count the components of them and then see how you can play with the colors and how you can multiply it. So like this has 4 components, and so then there's 4 squares. But if it had 6 components, you might want 6 squares to be able to vary your colors the way that it would be Warhol-esque, if that makes sense. But start with the strawberries. Makes a lot of sense. Easy squeezy starting point. So it should be cool. Have an awesome and healthy Wednesday. Good luck, you guys.